Could Oklahoma City be the next dynasty, or are we trying to will that into existence?
Oh, no, they could be.
Okay, because the reason I asked this question is because it's been 7 champions in 7 years. And I've told you this before. I think that parity is something we say we want, but secretly we want someone dominant. We want someone we can always root against. It's not just one Death Star. It can't just be a multiple bunch of Death Stars. It has to be one. You have to have one common enemy that everybody wants to take down. There has to be good versus a grand central evil. And that's what I think has been missing a little bit in the NBA. There's guys who love him and there's guys who hate him, and there's always that dynastic type of team. Over the last 7 years, it hasn't happened that way. And I think at the beginning of it, it's a little bit refreshing. But as time goes on, it's like, all right, who's going to be the next face of this league? Who's going to be the next big guy of this, or who's going to be the next big team of this league? You think Oklahoma City could be the next dynasty?
Define dynasty.
3 out of 4. Or 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 is the dynasty, right? But it's really 3 out of 4.
They are the team most positioned to have any sort of long-term deep run, because so when we talk Cavs, we talk 2-year window because of second apron and cap implications, everything else. The Thunder are not even going to be a tax team next year. I mean, think about that. They won a championship this year. They bring back everybody on the roster. Everybody's under contract. And they have 2 first-round picks in this coming draft in a few hours. And they're not even they weren't a tax team this year. They will not be a tax-paying team next year. So they don't even start their tax clock until now. They're going to get super expensive really fast because all their guys come up at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're going to have hard decisions to make too. That's just the way of the NBA. But with all of the first round picks that they have and the way that they draft and the way that they develop, they can take guys. They have the vehicles necessary to replace what they lose if they do it right.
They've done a good job. Before we even they won the final. So I mean, what the hell? Before we even get to the western side of things, or before we even get to the eastern side of things of where we're at, Houston has just traded for Kevin Durant, which is odd that Oklahoma City wins the finals the day that Kevin Durant gets traded to his umpteenth team, and I think it bogs down his legacy even more. But more of that coming up, and Lima might like, even though I just gave it away with Jason right there. The Lakers with Luka, if Luka can get himself into everyday shape, let's call it what it is. If Luka can get himself into everyday shape, if LeBron has one more run in him, because I'm not talking about dynasty. If I'm saying 3 or 4, it's like, all right, one team might get you next year, but then if you get 2 in a row after that, then you're still a dynasty. So that's what makes the conversation more difficult. Like the Lakers, I don't see them being a dynasty or being a real big thorn in the side for long because LeBron's going to go, and then we got to figure out what to do with Luka Doncic. Minnesota, I don't know how seriously people take Minnesota. I think when it gets to the postseason, you take them seriously, but I think there's another move that needs to be made. Denver's in the weeds. The Clippers are in the weeds. Golden State's kind of in the weeds. Everybody else is still hoping. On the other side of the ledger and this is where the Cavs add into things, is you have Jason Tatum who's out. He'll be out for next year, most of next year. It's all going to be on Jaylen Brown. Are the Cavaliers a better team than Boston with just Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, because I think Boston's going to disassemble.
Okay.
They're on record.
So Boston's going to disassemble, so the Cavaliers are better off than Boston. The New York Knicks. Are the Cavs better off than the New York Knicks?
I would say yes. Other people would disagree with me.
Is it because of the postseason stuff?
Yeah, it's close. Okay. I would take the Cavs, but it's close.
All right. Better than the Bucks. Still better than the Pistons.
Yeah.
Orlando.
I would take the Cavs, but again.
Well, you notice that was my first thought. I was like, well, if the Cavs play Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals, like, why does Orlando automatically come to your head?
I mean, Paolo Banchero, if he's healthy, is going to be
very tough.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton, no Tyrese Halliburton now. Are the Cavs better off than the Indiana Pacers? Were they better than the Indiana Pacers without Tyrese?
Without Hallie, yeah.
Were they better and they just got out fought against the Pacers in the NBA playoffs?
I maintain if they were healthy, they win that series.
The Cavs.
I still think that.
Okay. So if you put the Cavs already more talented than the Pacers, all right. So the Cavs got as good a shot as anybody in the East. Is then this year, the next year?
You missed one that I think is going to be really good coming. I don't know if next year.
In the East or the West?
In the East. I really like the Hawks.
You really like the Hawks?
Yeah.
All right, tell me why.
As a long term, probably not next year, but coming down the road, I think they're a team to watch. They're long, athletic. They play the way that the league is built to play now.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think next year is quite yet their time.
It's not about, I'm not trying to It's a weird argument because I'm not going to say that another team can be a dynasty. If any team has the chance to be a dynasty, it would have to be Oklahoma City, right? Right.
Yes.
But is there a team that could be a thorn in the side for any long term against the Oklahoma City Thunder? Because the Cavs, this year might open up the window with the injuries that's happened, with what's going on in the East and West. This year may open up the window for the Cavs, and it might make a lot of people want to make some moves. We'll find out more at 7:00. But for the next couple of years, can the Cavs be that sustained thorn in the side where maybe they could take one away from Oklahoma City? Could they do that? Could any other team? Yes.
For sure.
Okay, so if the Cavs can do that, what gets them over the hump then? Staying where they're at, or is there a move that they have to make?
The move they have to make is Evan Mobley's growth. To me, that is the most. There is no, I don't believe there's a big superstar to go out there and get. I never thought Kevin Durant was realistic because for a variety of reasons.
Oh, it starts, the owners.
Absolutely. That's exactly it.
Can I tell you this? It was weird, like the last couple of weeks, like I'm getting Kevin Durant tweets and stuff like that. And I keep saying, like, you guys do not take into account enough how much owners will stop each other from making moves on this. And that owner, I don't know if Dan Gilbert hates him, but I know they hate Dan Gilbert.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's mutual.
Well, if they hate each other.
It is nasty. It is personal. The wives were involved at one point.
When we get the whole trade for Trey Hendrickson, like, man, the Bengals have never traded with us. And the only time they were, which is why you should have freaked out, is with the A.J. McCarron trade. Because they knew they were hosing you with the possibility of the A.J. McCarron trade. Go ahead with what you were saying.
No, you're exactly right. Kevin Durant wasn't. First of all, I don't think KD wanted to come here.
No.
And secondly, Matt Ishbia would never, ever help Dan Gilbert win a championship. So I just don't think that was very realistic. So I don't know that there's a move. There's not a major superstar move out there to make. Now, you look at Boston and the Drew Holiday move that they made, the Kristaps Porzingis move. Those were great, sort of not really on the margins, but not trading superstar type moves. The Thunder adding Caruso was a huge piece to what happened last night. Is that type of move out there for the Cavs? I haven't seen it yet. I think their best chance at growth is Evan Mobley continue to become the best player. You know how far a Donovan Mitchell-led team will take you, the second round. And that's not a knock on Donovan. It's just the reality of undersized guards. We've had the conversation before, and you saw it with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. It is what it is in this league. You need big dudes to win championships, and the Cavs' best path is the continued growth. If Evan takes another leap next year like he took this year, that honestly, to me, is their best path.
Should this calm people down, the Oklahoma City winning the finals? Should we take, because I think that a lot of people wanted to, and I argued this with Lima a bunch over the last, we've been out of the playoffs now a month and a half. So over the last 6 weeks or so, I've argued this with Lima just about every day for a portion of the day. I think that a lot of people want to move Darius Garland for punitive reasons. Like they're mad at him. Yeah. I think they want to move, honestly, if there were some obvious moves out there, like the whole Giannis stuff that was brought up, it's like, okay, well, yeah, what are you going to do? But in sincerity, like some of the names that have been thrown out there for Darius Garland, I go, that's a tough sell with me. Yeah. I know I don't pay as close attention to it as Anthony does. So he's trying to make every argument in the day. I'm like, man, these are still guys that are 6 guys off the bench. You're talking about a 2-time All-Star you're trading over here. You can't just give that up for I'm serious. I just don't think you just give that up on the margins, guys.
No, I texted you yesterday. I think the pendulum has swung so far to the other side on the Cavs that it's just getting silly now. People act like this isn't a good team. Like this is a lot like they're trash. They are not trash. This is a really, really good team that had a really bad 2 weeks at a worst possible time to have a bad 2 weeks and have some injuries creep up. The Darius thing is so fascinating to me because you're right. People are down on him. If you really boil down the toe, and I was surprised he didn't play game 2. I wrote about it. But if you really look at the injury, it really comes down to game 2. Was anybody upset that he didn't play against Miami?
No.
Was anybody upset that he missed game 1 against Indiana?
No.
And then he played
going into game 1, no.
No. And then he played game 3 and beyond. So it's really game 2 is what has everybody ranked. And that was a big game. And it's really swung the entire series. And the fact that Cavs couldn't get the ball across half court in the last minute.
In his words, he was playing. Because Jared Greenberg went on TV and was saying how they were surprised. And then Jared Greenberg came on with us and he's saying, yeah, he told me he's playing. He's playing.
I'm telling you.
We all thought he was going to play in game 2.
I left the locker room after game 1 saying Darius is playing game 2. I thought it too. We all thought it. Everybody thought it. So I can't give you a good reason what happened.
I think with 6 weeks, though, and seeing what Oklahoma City did, and the moves that are available to make, or really the moves that aren't available to make, I think that there needs to be some calming down here. And I hope that last night provided some of it, because it's like, hey, man, you're one of the two best regular season teams in the NBA. The best regular season team in the NBA. They took them 7. And a lot of people thought it would only take 5 or even 4, but they were able to win the NBA Finals. I don't think you're that far off. And I agree with you that the biggest step that they have to make is Evan Mobley taking his next big step.
You can't make a trade just to make a trade, just for the sake of making a trade.
Has it turned into now or never for the Cavs overnight? Tyrese Halliburton goes down. Last night, Game 7, he looks like that's going to be out for a year. That's an Achilles injury, according to his father, who spoke to Shams Charania. Tyrese Halliburton, and it was a bad injury enough to put him in crutches for the rest of the night and have that be part of the conversation.
You knew what it was as soon as you saw it.
Yeah, but I can't sit there and go shoot my mouth off because who actually knows what happened. But it looks
you're
like
not a Twitter doctor. You can't assume.
I actually blocked all the Twitter doctors out there.
I don't even go on Twitter anymore. Very rarely.
You're just the best, aren't you?
Well, what's the difference in you blocking all the Twitter doctors and me just not going on at all?
Because it makes it more fun. Plus, it's more conversational with me. It looks like he's torn his Achilles and he will be out for a significant amount of time. Probably not until October of 2026 is the beginning of that season. So it looks like he's going to miss an entire year. Has it become now or never for the Cavaliers with Tyrese Halliburton's injury and Jason Tatum's injury in Boston?
Well, I was just saying, I went home. I made sure we were at friend's house yesterday, and I told my wife, I'm like, I got to go home and watch this game. It's Game 7, and like, not a huge NBA guy, but it's Game 7. You got to go home and watch it, right?
Game 7.
And she goes, well, who do you want to win? Do you want the Thunder to win? You're from Oklahoma. Like, and we've talked about, like, they moved there after I left, so they're not my team, right? But I just told her then, I go, but I want whoever wins that gives the Cavs a better chance to go further next year, right? And in a weird way, like the Halliburton injury gives them a better chance to move forward. I didn't wish it on him, but it's changed my mind about what I want them to do this offseason.
Well, no one's wishing it on him, but no one's going to call you a bastard for trying to take advantage.
One less team now that you're competing with.
Yeah, you can feel that way. That doesn't make you a bad person for that. But I tell you what, I think there's a sub-question to this as well, because I think that this is where it hits you right in the face. When is that Donovan option? You looked that up earlier in the show. Do you remember when
he can opt out after next year?
After this coming years, right? After 2025, 2026. Then I do think it becomes now or never. And the reason for that is simple. I mean, if you were frustrated after this last finals run, or playoff run that didn't really become a run. Everybody else was frustrated. I think he was frustrated.
I'm sorry.
As well.
I think I had that wrong. I think the option is 27-28.
Well, then if the option is 27-28, then it does give you a little bit of time.
Because that's why it's a 2-year window. That's why because they have this entire thing under control for 2 more years.
So no matter what, I think it's a 2-year. Okay, because I didn't know. I asked you. You gave me bad information, but that's beside the point. If it's 2 years, it's still 2 years. I think that when you get those guys back in 27-28 or 26-27, it's I think it's going to become a little bit different and obviously more difficult in the East. It's already going to be more difficult in the West. But coming out of the East, I think people look at this as this is your opportunity. This is put up or shut up time for this team, because they're as frustrated as they've ever been with this team. And to the point where I think that they've wanted to make trades to punish guys some way, somehow. And I don't believe in any of that, but it's like, hey, this is going to be time to take to take step, if ever.
But they won 64 games.
But they didn't do anything in the postseason.
We're acting like they were the Magic.
And overall, Jason, I agree with you. But when you don't do anything in the postseason, you're killing any regular season zest. Like I can sell you on the regular season in some way about Evan's growth because of Darius's injury.
Yeah.
People are just not going to buy that.
I'm not trying to say that 64 games wins them anything. It doesn't. I'm saying to have this conversation about, well, is now the time? Yeah, it's been the time. It was the time. It was as soon as they made the trade for DeAndre Hunter, it became the time.
But I think it's the time naturally for this team. This is what's most frustrating about it. Now's the time. Time for what? Well, time to get to the finals. So many people I'm talking to right now, they don't believe that they can go to the finals without a significant trade.
And that's why
I don't know how you make that trade, but they believe that's the only way you're going to get to the finals is with shaking up the core four.
And that's why I just think the pendulum has swung so far the other way on this and how this team is viewed. I just think it's unfair. And I was as hard on them as everybody else was when the season first ended. And yeah, they deserved it. They deserved the scorn to have the season that they did and to have the horrible timing of playing your worst basketball of the year at the most important 2-week stretch at that moment. is terrible, but that doesn't mean that it's an awful team that you blow the whole thing up.
No.
And plus with the rules the way that they are, it's very, very difficult for them to make a trade and get better.
Exactly.
That's the reality.
But you're not, I think for like Anthony has brought this up several times. You're not blowing the thing up. I think you have more of a risk of blowing it up if you move on from a Darius Garland than people want to admit, because you could bring in a bunch of role guys, as been said to me, and I think you could be just a programmatic non-fit and be a non-entity in the postseason. I still think you can make the postseason, but I don't know if you're going to be any more of a threat than what you've ever been before by taking away talent from your basketball team. Naturally, I think that it has to start with Evan, but I think that the clock is sped up with a lot of people where your opportunity is not going to be much better out of the East. Orlando's going to be better this coming year. Yeah. Detroit is going to naturally get better. Who knows what they're capable of? I don't know what their cap situation is or anything like that, but I'm sure they're capable of something. Like, we are a team that's kind of up against it. I have Boston that, as you have said earlier this morning, not just with the Jason Tatum injury, they are going to shed salary and they're going to be getting rid of some guys, which means that you are going to be able to take that next step. You're already the number 1 seed, but in seriousness with everybody else, taking that next step. So this coming year is very much that year, except that the fans don't really trust the guys who are in the uniform now because of what happened in the postseason. They do not trust these guys anymore.
When you talk about trades and when you talk about Darius and you talk about moving on and breaking this up, what's really fascinating to me in all of this, for years, there was, I've talked about this before, but there's this saying in the NBA that 4 quarters don't equal $1. That you want dollar players in the NBA. Dollar players are what win you championships. Obviously, LeBron, Kevin Durant, these are dollar players. Donovan Mitchell's a dollar player. You can't trade a dollar player, get 4 quarters back, and be a better team. You would take the dollar every time. Last night, Sam Presti said he absolutely believes that depth is the new way in the NBA. And it's just, it's as we talk about this new world, as we talk about parity, as we talk about this dynamic shifting, I wonder if that is still true. Do 4 quarters equal $1? And I don't know that we know the answer to that.
Then let me ask you another unanswerable thing. Are we focusing on the wrong people then? Like, I hear about Okoro or Strus or Wade or someone else there and the possibilities of making moves in those spots. And I think that people just go, well, that's not going to fix anything. Okay, but if we're talking about depth and guys who can help out, like Darius Garland, no matter what, is going to be injury prone. That's just what his career is. Evan Mobley is going to put on more weight, but he's still going to be more slight. You don't want him too heavy. Jared Allen's Jared Allen, and Donovan is still always going to be 6'3" or 6'4", which still makes him undersized. As much muscle as he has,
he ain't 6'4".
It's going to make him, okay, so he's 6'3". It's going to make him undersized. So the part where you become better is on those margins, is on that edge, because I don't think you can move on from those 4 guys. The easiest one, I think, to move on from is Jared Allen.
Yes.
And that means you're going to get more depth, hopefully, because you find guys that are coming along with these other teams that are not household names. We have guys on this team that are not household names. Where are they when you need them the most? It's easy to fill it up against Miami, a team that wasn't trying. It was obviously much different in the second round.
Max had an awful final game. What was he, 0 for 9? I think in the closeout game.
And sent a text to everybody before it about how hard they were going to work.
Terrible final game. Up until that point, I thought Donovan trusted him more than anybody else on the floor throughout the playoffs. So I would not put him, to me, he's one of the, and he's got the finals experience. He's been there. He understands it. He's one of the few guys on this roster that has. I would not put him in that conversation. In terms of Okoro and Wade, they have no trade value. Dean has more than Isaac. Isaac has no trade value.
Well, but where else am I supposed to improve? I can't improve anywhere else. I can't just trade away Darius Garland for a bunch of no-namers.
I agree with you. And that's why, so when you look at how Boston did it, they didn't touch Jalen and JT were their core pieces.
Yes.
Marcus Smart was an integral piece to what they did. And I remember foolishly now at the time thinking, I don't know if they got better or not by trading Marcus Smart and bringing in Porzingis. And then, Porzingis had a ton of injuries too. But then when you look at Porzingis, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is a totally different monster. They're significantly better. And the Drew Holiday piece was a huge piece for them. Same thing with OKC. Shea was the guy there. But Josh Giddey was important to what they did. So to me, the translation there is Jarrett. So Evan and Donovan are probably your untouchables at this point. Darius, I would put third on that list, and Jared is the one. Jared's very important to what they do. He's integral to what they do, but he's also been a no-show when they needed him the most the last couple of years. And I wrote after the season, I don't know how you bring him back. I just don't know how you bring him back. But at the same time, you can't just give him away for nothing, and it's very difficult for this team to make trades right